Hi anyone, I'm Luppi and we're playing some more Super Mario Minecraft. I mean, it's just Mario Minecraft, but oh well. We'll add the super in there. Because it is. It's Super Mario Minecraft. Is it not? Today we are going to be placing a lot of stone everywhere. That is what we're going to be doing. I know it's not the funnest thing, but it will be really cool if we actually complete this whole thing. Do I not have a pickaxe? Oh no. Did my pickaxes all break? So that's why we finished up last time? That's unfortunate. We have an axe. We have the tools to make a pickaxe. But we have a sword. That's cool. I love that. Sun's going down. I guess we should have left one of those spots open then. Oops. Okay. Well, we're just gonna pretend we don't need a pickaxe, okay? It'll be fine. It'll be a-okay. It'll be fine. At least until we use up some of this netherite, and then netherrack. I keep mixing up netherite and netherrack. They're very different things. They cause very different effects on your progression in the Minecraft world. Huh. Yeah, how are you guys doing? It's been a week. It's always been a week, but you know, it's been another week. Has it been a good week for you? Are you doing well in school or at work? Nobody's getting fired? Nobody's getting disowned? That's good. We're in some tumultuous time, so hopefully everything's going well for everyone. I know that's not the way it can always be, because things happen. Sometimes they just happen because they happen, and sometimes they happen because people make them happen. And, I don't know, in general, my attitude is it sucks to be in a situation, period. And it double sucks when someone puts you in a situation against your will. Against what your otherwise your plans would be, you know? But let's just keep doing our best, making it through a week by week. Even if all we're doing is playing Minecraft or some other Nintendo Wii U game, it's fine. It could be worse. We could be playing. We could be the poor suckers in 1970 or whatever, 1980 playing Pong. For people who enjoy Pong, I apologize. I never have. My week's been pretty uneventful. Let's see. I recently did an inspection of one of my potho plants. It's basically just like 3 vines wrapped around. And what I found was kind of disturbing. It had wound itself behind my TV. And like I knew that, but I was assuming it was like coiling under the table the TV's on. But it was wound up in a corner where I have a bunch of plush toys, and it like literally burrowed into the head of one of my plush toys. So yikes. It was an older one. It was Big Bird. It was a chewed up Big Bird when I was a kid. I'm not the one who chewed on him. It was the dog at the time. The family doggy. So Big Bird has no eyes. He's blind. He's been blind for probably longer. I don't know. If you are under the age of... You're under the age of 30. Big Bird's older than you are. Oh man, our Big Bird's been blind longer than you have, probably. Um, if you are over the age of 30, but aren't quite 34, then you may be old. You may be older than Big Bird's blindness, but you may not be older than Big Bird himself. And that's just my toy Big Bird. That's not the real one. The real one's older. The real one's from like what, the 70s, 60s, 80s, somewhere in there. Like Big Bird's pretty old by our standards. You know, if you're a millennial, if you're a Zoomer, if you're a Alpha, you know, Big Bird's pretty old. Maybe I shouldn't let the dog chew on him. Oopsie doopsies. But yeah, I found the pothos burrowing, so I had to spend some time to wind it out, and like, I was trying to be very gentle, trying not to damage the plant, while also being very gentle, trying not to damage the Big Bird. So yeah, I had a time with that. It was neat. Would not recommend, would not want to do that again. But it was kind of freaky. It was kind of neat, I guess, in its own way. And then I went out and returned some paints because they were sent to me damaged. Like, they were sent in a box. Like, it was multiple paints. So the paints had a box, right? And then that box was placed in another box. The box that the paints were in directly was damaged. Like, it was dented, like somebody dropped it. All the paints inside were like splattered all over and stuff and opened. I was upset, but got that returned. So hopefully that situation ends up resolved in my favor. And strongly thinking about changing how I usually buy things. I've been a big user of Amazon in the past, but I'm thinking maybe it's time to change that. So I'm kind of scoping out and considering like canceling Amazon Prime and finding other websites, you know, for the general things, like deciding what new websites I should buy stuff from if I need to. Like, it's not like I need to buy stuff all the time. And I think I'm just gonna go with Best Buy for games. It's been a while since Amazon stopped selling Nintendo games. Like, so that's, and from what I've heard, from what I've read, that's just it's like a tax dispute between Amazon and Nintendo, so, or something. It was some business reason. Like Nintendo and Amazon had disagreements. So who knows? And then, like, the big thing is art supplies. There are a lot of art supply websites and wholesalers and whatever. Like, not even on the internet, just like you can get a catalog and you can just order. You can order through the mail art supplies. So there's no real reason to use Amazon, I suppose, other than the convenience factor. But if I'm not going to use stuff immediately, then I don't really need the convenience factor. But yeah, going through and changing up how I do things. But I think it's necessary. Before, I could just kind of like shrug and be like, well, everybody orders from this place, so what I do doesn't really matter. But I feel like it's important to kind of put my money where my mouth is and say, if I don't believe in billionaires, why am I empowering them by using their services? And I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. But that doesn't mean I should just throw money into the dragon's mouth, proverbially, you know? metaphorically, sometimes literally. I don't know. Do you guys ever consider the ethics of the things you buy and the services you use? I know that's kind of a weird question. If you've never really thought about it, it's kind of a weird question, right? But let's say there was an app, and the app would, let's say it's basically like Uber. It was like Uber. You know, they drive people around, and that's a good service, you know? And instead of the thing like Uber, where they fight really hard legally, so they don't have to consider the people who are the Uber drivers as employees, you know, so they don't have to do the tax stuff. You know, the beautiful way that works. Let's say that this imaginary app service economy was basically, I don't know. I was gonna say like they kick puppies or something. So that's why. But I feel like that's too basic. And the problems with services like Amazon, and you can even say like Apple, Google, it's just that they're so big. It's basically impossible to get a competitor. And they're also so big where they can direct the government with the money. So that's not good. I don't really like that. And that's not even getting into like the ethical concerns of like why are we letting all this money be in the hands of a few people when even in the hands of the government, like even if you dislike the government, you have to admit there are good things the government does, right? And if you say there aren't any, I guess you don't use roads. I guess you didn't benefit at all from public education. I know a lot of people are anti-vaxxer now, and that's unfortunate. I'm not saying, and I don't want to both sides of this, but you shouldn't trust the pharmaceutical companies. I agree with that statement. They are definitely full of very, very money-hungry, dangerous people. I think that's a statement we can all agree on. I just don't... I mean, like, vaccines as a concept, vaccines predate corporations legally. Like, people have been getting vaccinated since was it like the mid or late 1800s? I know the argument about being anti-vaxxers existed since the 1900s, and that's because I love old-timey comics, and a lot of old-timey comics are very political. Or at least like a lot of the surviving ones are. And that's not to say that there aren't non-political old-timey comics. Like there's Thimble Theater, there's Wash Tubs, there's the old style what was the one with the tiger guy? And then there's a lot of older ones, just like general like newspaper one panel like commentary, like, you know, like New Yorker comics basically, except without the class really, I guess, or with a different perspective because they're from a different time. And because they're not made by a single newspaper company who can dictate its rules for every comic made, they come across as kind of like, I don't know, different? Like, I don't know, I would love to have more old encyclopedias of the old-timey comics. They're pretty wild. And I know I just said, like, yeah, I'm gonna be reviewing, like, the things I buy, and I'm, like, buying less stuff. And here I am, like, well, you know, I'd love to buy an encyclopedia of old comics. I'd love to buy more. That's the worst thing. But oh well. Oh well, it's not like we need it now. We can look up at some point and then acquire acquire it from a site like Barnes & Noble or whatever. There's always alternatives. And sometimes, you know, cost isn't an option, so it's okay. It's okay if I spend a little bit more. Honestly, though, I feel like, and if they change the price, I'd be wrong, but I feel like, from what I remembered, it might actually be cheaper if I just, like, got the Barnes & Noble membership, and if I found an art seller website with a membership, it might be cheaper to buy memberships for 2 companies than buying Amazon Prime. And I know Amazon Prime comes with a lot of random stuff. I don't use a lot of it. I just don't have the time or the interest in it. Like, I guess it's cool that it gives you a free Twitch membership or whatever. I don't really watch Twitch, if I'm being honest. Nothing against it, it's just like, I don't know, I kinda like YouTube. I've used it forever. I like not even having to search things and finding random stuff all the time. I like other people yapping in my ear constantly. It's nice, you know, just playing games without the, when I play games and I'm not recording, or I'm playing games and I'm not commentating, adding commentary, like I can just have the YouTube on. Get some cool Joe Scott opinions, get some neat fill-in moments. Saiso's kinda neat sometimes. Always gotta hear what Hank Green's up to. I don't know, there's a lot of cool creators. I'm missing a lot. Like, I'm subscribed to so many. Like, that's the painful thing about the YouTube algorithm. Like, I'm subscribed to so many, like, interesting people, but I rarely see their new stuff unless I've just, like, binged a lot of their stuff. So if I'm just going through, like, my watch later list, it screws up my algorithm, and all I see is, like, things from 2 or 3 years ago, and it's like, okay, well, what are they doing now? Can you show me more new stuff? Oh well. Someday the YouTube algorithm won't be totally garbage. Yeah, we have to raise that up. And that's unfortunate. I used up my pickaxe. Pickaxing. How unfortunate. And then I know it's not new news, but I am seeing it being repeated a lot more, but just how gross a lot of the AI companies are in actuality. And I know I say, like, I'm an AI enjoyer, but, like, that's just the I just like the product. I'm not a fan of the companies, and this is one thing I also say. I've been saying that I do agree that, like, their use of other people's rights, copyrights, and intellectual property is pretty shitty. I think that's the best way we could say it. Like, Meta literally downloading entire libraries of books. I think it's being reported as, like, what, 84 terabytes worth of books, so it could train its AI models. Like, that's unacceptable. That's infuriating. It's like, yeah, but how do you think all these companies made their AI models talk so good and write so good? And it's like, yeah, I guess. And we eat it up, don't we? Or at least all the ding-dongs who, like me. I am a ding-dong too. I'm an AI user. I don't consider myself an AI creator. I don't really post anything I make or anything that is generated based on prompts. I think it's neat to see what kind of garbage it spews out. It's been really fascinating to see it go from random, like, random blobs and, like, vague impressions of things to outright, like, being able to create, if you tell it, like, make me an image of a giraffe fighting an elf. Like, the only way some of these would screw up is they'd be like, we're not creating an image of this because it's promoting violence, you know? And a lot of them, they don't care. They don't have filters. So it's like, yeah, here's your elf. Here's your giraffe. They're fighting. Did you mean Keebler elf? Did you mean Santa's elf? Did you mean, like, Link from Legend of Zelda? I don't know. Like, it is fascinating, and I do think, personally, if we didn't live in a hell world where artists are simultaneously the backbone of literally any industry, like, they're literally the backbone of a lot of industries, actually. And, like, granted, you could say, like, well, in the digital age, they're not as important as web designers or app makers or whatever. Like, they're not as important as developers. And it's like, yeah, sure, but without good art assets, like, you're gonna look cheap, or you're gonna look like you got everything from what's the word I'm looking for? You got everything from not the stock footage, but something else. My brain keeps wanting to say word art, and it's like, that's not it. That's not it. I don't know where you're coming up with this, brain, but yeah, your stuff doesn't look good if you don't actually hire artists. I don't know. Meanwhile, all the jobs that, you know, we've been told are gonna get replaced, you know, all the minimum wage stuff, all the manual labor. It really seems like they won't, because we don't have the robots to do it. It doesn't matter what the AI knows if it can't physically interact with the world. And then even if we do have robots, we're gonna have to change all of our infrastructure to accommodate the robots. Like most stores, they get all their stock from trucks. Some trucks come every night. Some trucks come like only a few nights. I've worked at stores where, you know, they only get a load like twice a week, or they get their main load like twice a week, and then they get other loads once a week at different times. And I've worked at stores where basically everything gets 2 to 3 loads a week, and I've worked at stores where every night's a load night. Oh my god. That's the worst thing. On one hand, it's nice because you don't have to ever work the back stock, and that's nice as a third shift employee. I do appreciate that, but backstock nights are always, like, the worst, because they just drag on. At the same time, like, it doesn't matter if anything goes wrong, because it's like, yeah, we've got time to do it. We've got time to do everything. Assuming everyone shows up, that's the big thing in retail. Usually it's not nobody shows up, it's just usually someone's called off. And I get it, everybody's got life. And I don't want this to sound like, yeah, young people are irresponsible, but younger people do have a different set of priorities, especially the ones that are still living with their parents, than adults. You know, once you're an adult and you're paying your own rent, or you're paying off your student loans, or you're paying, like, your medical bills, like, life's a lot different than, like, when you're living in your parents' basement. I say, as a 34-year-old man still living with my parents. I don't live in the basement, though. The basement floods occasionally. So that would not be good. Power goes out and the water level raises by a solid 2 feet. It's gross. It's terrible. That's what happens when you live within walking distance of a lake, though, I suppose. I need to go to the lake. I keep telling myself, yeah, we'll go to the beach at some point. And then I just don't. So yeah, that'll be my next real life project. Possibly. Is making time to go to the beach this summer. Or spring, whatever. I think spring's usually too cold, but you might get some cool visuals, and maybe we could take some photos, paint some inspired paintings based off what we saw. That could be cool. That could be nice. That could be neat. You know, I'm realizing we probably should have started there and tried to see what we could get done. I know we are definitely spreading the netherrack everywhere, but we do need to make sure this is a thing. Yeah, my only hope is if I do start buying like manga from Barnes and Noble, I really hope that, or ordering it, I hope I'd have to check though how their shipping is, and I'd have to check like as we do it how good they are about packing stuff, because Amazon can be pretty hit or miss. I've had some good packages, you know, like they send things out one by one in their little like the little cardboard shippers for books, where it's like they kind of like fold it around and then like glue it up. Like those are really nice. It's kind of wasteful if you're buying a lot of stuff, but I do appreciate getting books that aren't folded. I don't know, I've had multiple books where the book itself was folded in the little plastic envelope thingy, the mailer. And that's frustrating because it's like, how does this even happen? And I say that when they literally sent me damaged paints, and it's like, yeah, well, you know, you were in this industry too at one point. You understand how it goes, you know. Nobody has the time to do things right. It's just making sure the list of names goes away before the management gets there. That's how it is. If you want things done right, you gotta make sure that people aren't getting yelled at by their managers all the time. You gotta make sure that every company's hiring enough people to get through its workload every day. That might mean we can't take advantage of the fact that we don't always need 3 or 4 people on a team at all times. And it's like, yeah, but it helps. And don't you want to help? And it's like, not really. I don't particularly want to help. I'd rather have more money at the end of the day. And in general, Americans and the world agreed, not just Americans. The world agreed, like, yeah, we're willing to have cheap stuff at the expense of workers if it means, if it means we get cheap stuff, like, that's good enough. And then we turn around and complain about, like, yeah, the service was terrible. And it's like, of course. You're not paying for good service. You're paying for a $1 meal. What are you talking about? You're not paying people to have living wages. Of course you're not. I don't know. Some people would say that's pretty leftist to say, but I don't know, is it? Probably, definitely. At the same time, like, I don't know. Talking about a living wage is left than I guess send me to Catholic school in the 1950s and let them whip me, I guess. I don't know. That was left-handed, but oh well. Same basic concept. I don't know where to segue next. I don't have a topic lined up now. I think going forward, though, I'm gonna try to be a little less depressing about stuff. And not to say that we're just gonna, like, be toxically happy. But, there's no need to panic. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to panic all the time, and definitely now. But, this is a gaming channel for all ages. So I don't really think it's very appropriate for me to be like, oh yeah, the world is burning. Give up on life. Nothing you can do will change the way things are gonna go. I think that's a really negative message. There are a lot of good things we can all do. And honestly, for the most part, unless things go super south, and I don't think they're gonna go super duper south, like, in terms of, like, nuclear weapons being used, is usually what I think of as being super south. I don't think that'll happen. Will potentially a lot of people lose life savings and government assistance and rights. Probably, but I don't know. I'm not a prophet and my instincts are garbage. So I think it's a little irresponsible to say, yeah, I'm gonna predict this or that. I mean, if professional government people are saying, yeah, this is gonna happen, and they can provide, like, some sort of evidence, like, oh yeah, we've appointed a ding-dong who's destroying this agency. Like, I think that's a better bellwether than me or anybody else who's not in Washington, D.C., or, you know, actually worked in a government agency for the government. Yeah, I've never done that. All of my jobs have been in retail. I follow government stuff because current events is kind of interesting. I'm fascinated by humanity in general. Also disgusted. I'm fascinated in the same way, like, I imagine people are, like, fascinated by sea life, but also are creeped out by octopi, or sea snails, or sea slugs, you know? Like, they are neat, but also pretty terrible. But that terribleness is subjective, usually. Okay, so that one does need to stay there. Okay. I don't know, like, I guess what really boggles my mind is when I was younger, I also had a lot of reactionary opinions, and it's actually kind of, it's not scary, but it does make me feel kind of ashamed to actually see things that, like, teenage me would have advocated for or supported being enacted by the government. And, like, being an adult and being like, oh, this is going to ruin thousands, millions, hundreds of millions of people's lives, what you're doing. Why are you doing this? And it's like, well, you gotta tear it down to... I mean, I guess the language the government would use now is we gotta tear it down to make sure it's working efficiently or whatever. Personally, my feelings on the subject are they gotta tear it open so they can get their little grubby little fingers all up in the information. That's what it's all about. It's all about stealing more and more information, ripping off more and more people. I don't know. It's always a grift. And especially when you have people like our current president. He's a grifter. That's what he is. He's a con man and a grifter. And so is Elon Musk in some ways. I would say more than a con man, he's just kind of an idiot. Definitely, I don't know. He's a weird guy. And that's what I would have said before he did the Nazi salute. Now I just say, like, yeah, he's not a good person. He's a Nazi. Like, Or at the very least, he's a drug addict who has no self-control and thinks it's funny to get under the skin of too many people. Like, either way, he really doesn't deserve any power. So, it really sucks that an unelected guy who was only allowed to become a US citizen because he had money. Because if there are tons of people who pull the same stunts he did, or not the same stunts, that's kind of mischaracterizing it, because he did have a student visa or some sort of permit before, and then it ran out and he was here working illegally. But because he had money, he could actually apply and become a US citizen, which is cool, I guess, you know, that's... I don't know, I'm just grossed out by people who get upset about immigrants and then are pick and choose how they want things, pick and choose who can get away with things. There we go. And maybe that's just me not unpacking and dealing with the fact that I'm pretty much I don't know, like an absolutist about things. Like, I don't want exceptions, I just want results. And that's not really a good way to be. But there are always times where you do more good just letting people kind of be the ding-dongs, you know? Like, sometimes it's better to let the rules be broken. Like, there are definitely times in history where what is lawful and what is good are completely different things. Like, the Holocaust and slavery were both legal in the countries they happened in. You know, Germany was under Nazi rule. And the Nazis wrote the rules, and the Holocaust was okay by their standards. It only became not okay when they were put on trial. That's not funny, that's just the way it is. That oftentimes the only way to make horrible people see the error of their ways is they won't see the error of their ways, they're just going to they'll just cry when there are actually consequences for their own actions. I don't know where I was going with this. I just wanted to make sure you guys all understand that I am morally, intellectually, verbally against the current administration of the United States government. And that's that, you know? Oh well. Like, it kind of, I don't know. I grew up reading Bill O'Reilly, and it really sucks that literally all the conservatives are liars at best and full-on monsters at worst. Like, that kind of, it's kind of like a don't meet your heroes, but I never really idolized anyone that strongly, so it's just kind of a slap in the face that, you know, like, I never watched the Bill O'Reilly show as a kid. I didn't have cable, so my first experience with it was, like, really eye-opening. And I was still a pretty shitty kid in some ways. During Trump's first election, I went on Twitter. I was on Twitter, and I was going through the threads, and I was laughing at the liberals saying that the country would melt down. I was like, it's just one guy, right? And then a funny thing happened. You know, I was following it politically on various sites. And all the people he appointed to his cabinet were, like, handpicked to be oppositional to the goals of the government. And that was very eye-opening as well. Also, like, Who would willingly work like with Betsy DeVos? I don't know. I'm not a fan of the lady myself. I guess I could be more in favor with her ideas if they didn't require tearing down public education completely. I think that's a pretty garbage thing to do. And I say this knowing that like our public education system in the United States it's struggling. And I don't think there's, and I guess this goes to a lot of political opinions and ideas, theories, and problems society faces. There's not an easy solution. Like, look at Donald Trump literally a week ago or whatever. Like, basically hand-waving, like, yeah, we're not going to be able to fix the economy because that's actually really hard. And it's like, yeah, no shit, idiot. It is very hard to do stuff. It's a little easier when you actually, like, work together with people and actually listen to professionals and let other people do a lot of the heavy lifting. The president's job is never a job of heavy lifting. Other than lifting the president's job isn't to be the one to do the heavy lifting, period. You know, that's why you have all these people in departments working with you under the executive branch. That's why you have a cabinet. That's why you have advisors. That's why, I don't know, it's wild. And maybe it's not so wild. Maybe it's just, you know, if you don't have any understanding of how complex our whole freaking world is. And yeah, it would be really nice to live in a simpler world. I agree with that. Like, I am constantly stymied by forms. I hate forms. I hate paperwork. Let me say that. I hate it. Because a lot of it's vague enough where you can read it multiple ways. And that slows you down because like you can't be wrong when you're filling out a government form. Like, some of that's perjury. I don't want to be on trial or go to jail because I filled out a dumb form wrong because I was doing a dumb thing. And most of the time the consequences of your actions aren't that bad. A lot of the times, or you hope a lot of the times, if you can prove that you weren't malicious, that you were just unknowing, or that the form itself was inadequate, like, you'd hope that whatever problems would arise would just be thrown out or would be passed over or whatever. But that doesn't always happen. There's always cases of people being screwed over by dumb things. And I guess it's frustrating that we're not trying to create and live in a more fair, kinder world. That it's okay to just throw our allies to the wolves. And I don't know. Like, one thing teenage me would have loved would be all the expansionist talk from the Trump administration. Like, annexing Greenland and Mexico and Canada, like, heck yeah. Make it all America. Why not? And then why don't we kill all the plants and animals and live in a completely tech society? Let's get rid of weather. Let's have air conditioning everywhere because everything's inside. And I want you to think, like, that's a really dumb thing to say. And that's a really scary thing to, like, believe. And it's like, yeah, teenage me did not do camping. Teenage me was very sheltered. And very shitty. Teenage me also believed that, like, if you live in an area with hurricanes or tornadoes and your house gets destroyed or you get injured, like, screw you, idiot. Live somewhere better. I say, as somebody whose house floods whenever the power goes out, like, and it's not that bad because it's just the basement, but still, it's still extreme. It still ruins stuff. It's still never planned. So it's really unempathetic, and it's really, really terrible to not want to help people. And I might just be like, I want this to read like, I don't think I'm smarter than you know, your average conservative. I don't think I'm smarter than your average liberal. But, I do get on my moral high horse a lot, though. That is true. But that's because my values are, like, I don't want people to get destroyed. I want an easy life. I want us all to have the big win-win. And I know that's impossible. Not everybody can win. But, you know, the more people who can, the more people can get closer to achieving what they want. Like, that's good. When people have that option and can try, like, that's great. And it's frustrating that we're not trying to make the world a better place. Although that's from my own values of making the world a better place. For some people, you know, who cares if people get hurt as long as, you know, we're saving money? Who cares if we're flushing down America's soft power? Because who cares about the opinions of everybody else? We're America, darn it. The only opinion that matters is mine. I feel like that's the kind of attitude that's been directing American voting for like the entire time it's existed. And it's like, yeah, probably. Not that I hate this country. It's just, you know, once you have a critical eye of history, it's really hard to be supportive of just how slow and how circular a lot of the things we do are. Ugh. It's not fun. But I suppose none of us really live long enough to see it all play out again and again and again. Most of us don't even get to see it play out once. Imagine how frustrating it is to see it play out twice. So yeah, we'll see. I went on a bit of a long political rant this time. But I think this time it was important for me because I also was trying to connect it to, like, my own reactions are very personal because I'm also going to be unpacking what a shitty person I was as a kid for the rest of my life. I'm always going to feel a little ashamed of some of the opinions I've had. And it's not like I was straight up, like, a full-on, you know, like, brainwashed or whatever kind of person. Like, I stopped attending church as a teenager as well, just because, a lot of reasons, I guess, or maybe two big reasons. One was, I couldn't make it make sense with my understanding of the world in a scientific sense. And some of it you could say it's just like, you're a coward. You're a little baby boy who doesn't have the mortal fortitude to say, yeah, if God's real, then I could be punished. And it's like, no, it's not like that. It's just, I don't know. If we know there's a lot of facts about this planet that spit in the face of the Bible, like, does it make sense to follow it? And I guess that's kind of where it started. And I suppose that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of critical of people who argue against science in general, is just, like, if it's coming from a place of we're going to argue against these theories and facts to, like, pick them apart and kind of make them make sense with our own beliefs, that's fine, honestly. But a lot of people don't really do that. And they don't really create sound arguments that actually pick apart the theories they're arguing against, you know? Like, there's a great YouTuber called Emma Thorne. And she's pretty much like an atheist YouTuber. She often talks and often does video commentary of, like, creationist videos. If you are, you know, religious but kind of doubting, or if you're consider yourself atheist but you don't really have the talking points or the ethos kind of like instilled in you, I feel like she's a great resource. She's got a lot of videos. He's always making more. Sometimes he's a cheeky little thing, but like, he's a good person, I feel. You know, because he's definitely well read when it comes to biblical scripture. It's not that she hates religion. It's just he does dislike people who use it as a justification to harm people, who use it to indoctrinate other people. And I guess I'm trying to think of what else I want to say here, because I don't know. How do I, because indoctrination is a really great point. I've definitely known people who went to other churches, like other kids growing up, where, you know, when they had their moment where what their parents or the Bible said didn't make sense with like how the world is, you know, they went like really hardcore into like all religion is wrong and religious people are bad and churches need to be destroyed and tax the churches. I'm not that at all. I do feel like if a church or if the ministers, bishops, priests of the church are giving political opinions as sermons, then they should be taxed. I feel like you only get to be tax-free as a religious institution if you are not getting involved with the government. The moment you are involving yourself in the government, then you should be taxed. That is my feelings. You can say it's a little unfair, but I feel like if you're going, we should have a separation of church and state. We should keep that. I feel like that's a good idea. This country was founded on the idea that people should be able to steal other people's land and then do whatever they want. I know, but I feel like we can take the ideals that were taught and actually make them reality. I would love to see the American ideals espoused in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, and and just in any sort of like old-timey American ethos founding literature. I'd like us to live up to the ideals that were espoused by our forefathers, by the people who came before us, and actually live up to them unhypocritically. I would love to see that happen. That's a very naive hope, but it's one I hold dear. And I would hope that all of you, instead of hating this country, if those are your feelings, that maybe as a simpler goal, just try to make your own state that you live in, the state that you work in, the state that you reside in, whatever, a better place. I think that's a little easier than trying to save the country. I don't think that's something one person can do. Or at least one person who's not like a total myth. But even improving one state is kind of a big ask, is it not? Like, a lot of states change out the governors and representatives and senators all the time, and a lot of the time it's still kind of the same, right? I don't know. I don't have any easy answers. I went to art school. I don't have easy answers. I don't have any answers at all. I'm just a yammerer who likes to do stuff that's unimportant. That's not good. But we should aim to do things. I think that's always the best course of action, is to have a plan of attack. Whether it's an escape plan, whether it's a fight or flight, you know, kind of thing. Always have a card up your sleeve. feel like I've said that before, and I think that's good advice to live by. Always have a card up your sleeve. Yeah, back to religion. I do wanna finish that thought with I do wanna finish that thought, and instead of just leaving it dangling. Yeah, so I fell out with the religion just because it didn't make sense to me personally. But I did attend church for a fair amount as a youth. And that's one of the reasons why I do tend to try to view religious services positively, because I do see the good that the churches around me do. They do a lot of community service. They are smaller though, so of course they're gonna do community service, because the community service is for people who actually, are a part of their communities. And we are social creatures, so we do need a social aspect. I just wish people weren't so gung-ho about, kind of lying about stuff. Sometimes it's not lying. Sometimes it is. There's a lot of very disingenuous opinions. And there's always disingenuous opinions, because, we're people. We're really good at making stuff up. That's human 101. We're really good at making stuff up. And sometimes that's really cool. Books, video games, plays, movies, that's all stuff that people just dreamed up and made reality somehow. But also everything you see or everything you hear from someone on this site, YouTube, or you see on the news, or you see anywhere, there's a reason people say the things they say. And unlike me, it's not just because they're just doing some sort of stream of consciousness, desperately trying to make a video game play and be a little less boring. Usually people are more directed, and that's where propaganda and agendas come in. Because if you don't know who's paying for the newscaster to say this or that, then you don't know what companies or what billionaires or what forces are trying to get you to think this or that. None of us are immune to propaganda. None of us are immune to anything, really. I know that's not connected at all to the tangent about propaganda and where ideas come from and how easy it is to get people, to infect people with brain worms. Or brain rot. It's interesting. And it's not inherently political, but it's often used to political ends. To get people to think oh yeah, why is everything so political nowadays? And it's well, everything was always political. If your opinions are it's only political if you dislike it, then you're not informed and you're not thinking critically. There's tons of political, I literally talk about tons of political things that I dislike, and I acknowledge they're political, and I don't really care if other people talk about them. Although I would also say if they have the right to talk about it, I also have the right to argue against it if I dislike it. That's the way it goes. You can always argue. I do like that interpretation of the First Amendment. You can always argue. You always can get a word in. And that's kind of a bad thing about this country, because it does mean a lot of people get to have their words in when they have no expertise, they have no real understanding of what they're saying. But at the same time, it's do I have an understanding of what I'm saying? I'm yammering, but I'm also playing Minecraft, so my brain's desperately trying to keep up with my mouth. And sometimes my mouth is desperately trying to keep up with my brain. I don't know. In general, I have a lot of reactionary garbage in my head still. And I'm gonna be unpacking that the rest of my life. But I do believe in my heart of hearts that I do want everybody to have the big win-win. I do want people to have success. I want people to have good, happy lives. And you can say that's naive, and that's true. It is. But that doesn't mean anything. Like, it's a criticism, but it doesn't really change the fact that, like, that's what I want to see happen. And it's not stupid. I think it's far more stupid to believe you can take all the resources and wealth from this planet and then escape to a space station. And I say that as somebody who really likes to see, you know, space agencies, whichever ones they are, make more progress. It's really cool. More countries should be trying to go to space. Maybe not the billionaires, though. Don't let them escape. They don't get to ruin this planet and then get to just sit around wherever. We can't allow that to happen. At the same time, I was looking at old-timey future ideas for houses. And, like, some of them are so wild. Like, you ever watch The Jetsons? That old cartoon? Oh, man. So they live in these domes above the planet. But there were actually ideas to create these domes and have them in space. And they're so interesting. Because it's like, you know those glass platters where you got the glass little domey above the actual platter so you can see what food or whatever's inside of it? Think something like that, except it's got, like, ground on the bottom and, like, a weird structure. So that's kind of like a house and a garage in one. So you could have, like, space cars fly out of it. It's so wild. I don't know. I wouldn't mind living in something like that, actually, though. I don't think I concluded my religious talk, though. I feel like I just keep getting stuck on the same stuff. I don't know. I guess it's hard to talk about because I've never really thought about it. It was just something I did. You know, I went to church because that's what my mom and sister did, you know? I stopped going to church because it didn't make sense to me anymore. It wasn't something I needed or wanted to do. And that's okay. I still see the value in a church community. And when I have time, I'm willing to do stuff for the church community still. Sometimes. Not often. I don't have time. But I guess I'm not, like, going to say I believe that Jesus exists or that any religious figure existed or said their things that they said. And I'm kind of ambivalent on the concept of a God. You know, I'm willing to accept that there may be a higher power, but to believe that it is very interested in people enough to change our trajectory multiple times and outright, like, cause us to almost go extinct, and then, like, not really do anything with us in the modern day when we need the most help? I don't know. Kind of wild. Unless there's a rule where, like, if humanity is less than this amount of people, you can talk to whomever you want. The moment they have too many people or they have too much technology, you can't communicate with people. I don't know. And also, there are some stories in the Bible where, like, with the evidence we have now, with the historical evidence we have now, it seems unlikely. Like, you know, the world flood doesn't really seem like it happened. There's no evidence of that in our geological strata. And in the dirt, you know how this dirt is layered because it kind of piles on top of each other. So the deeper you go, the older it is. And we've never found a universal flood level in the different layers of the earth. Does it mean that story came out of nowhere? Of course not. Like, there's definitely... Humans have dealt with floods the entire time we've been humans. Is it possible that a bunch of societies were wiped out or damaged heavily by like a huge inland sea or a sea in general or a lake flooding. I mean, that's very possible. Like we've had, again, we've dealt with plagues our entire existence. Whether it be epidemics, whether it be flooding, whether it be droughts, famine, like we have dealt with horrible things in our entire history. But yeah, I don't know. I still have a lot of the, I guess there's still a lot of trappings of Christianity like wrapped up in me though. Like you can take the boy out of the church, but you can't really take the church teachings out of the boy. Not entirely. And I guess that kind of informs me, like just being aware that like you're not immune to propaganda and everything's indoctrination. Everything that makes you think or feel a way is kind of propaganda in its own way. It's an influencing thing. And we are not immune. And some of that's good, like, you know, if it makes you you and you like you and other people like you, then like that's good. Right? It doesn't matter if it's Christianity or Nintendo or baseball or a love of South Korea. Like, if you like things and they don't make you want to hurt people, that's beautiful. That's great. But at the same time, I see, and it's not just religion, and this is why I disagree with people who go very hard on, we got to get rid of all the churches, religion leads to all evils, because like everything leads to evils. That's just how people are. Like, I don't know, it doesn't take much for people to start lying about other people. So try not to be that kind of person. Don't lie about other people. Let me lie about other people. Let me lie about other people for you. And then pay me for that. Pay me to lie about other people. Why am I surrounded by all these poochies? That is kind of neat. Yeah, hopefully we've reached some sort of nuance. Hopefully you've reached some sort of nuanced understanding of how I view religion and politics by talking about some of my own issues with those. I'm always going to reiterate, I think the most important thing I can impart on you is just try to understand people, but also understand that a lot of people don't really have valid reasons for the way they feel or do things, so you don't really have to, go out of your way to like, if it's going to hurt you, you don't have to understand people. Sometimes it's good enough to be like, yeah, the reason person believes this is because person is a bad person. Sometimes it's not they're a bad person, sometimes it's just they have a different perspective. It really depends on the issue. But I do feel like if anyone's really willing to argue like, we should remove people's rights or we should destroy people's lives, like the moment you're openly willing to say that, like you are a bad person. And that's my feelings, and that would cause a lot of people to lump me in with the leftists, and it's like, that's okay. I don't like the idea that you know, having empathy or not wanting people to be hurt makes you a leftist. That's infuriating. But at the same time, like, you know what, if American conservatives are willing to concede that the only values they have are fairly esoteric, then I don't know. It's wild. And I say this as somebody who grew up reading Bill O'Reilly. I say that a lot. It's not really conservative cred, but you know, I enjoyed the books. I would not be able to tell you what kind of conservative values they imparted. They're very different than his television program was. I will tell you that. That was culture shock right there. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I think the big issue is just not really ever considering like where my ideas and opinions come from. And if we're being honest, a lot of my opinions and beliefs do come straight from like manga and video games. I spent a lot of time playing video games and reading manga. And a lot of them are just straight up emotion porn, you know? One Piece is a really good example of that. I love One Piece. But like it's made to make you feel stuff. It's made to make you feel stuff so you keep reading. Like, and that's not because the guy who writes it is like some sort of propagandist. He's just trying to make the most emotionally epic pirate manga he can. And he really loves his fake out deaths. He really loves the trope of people having to say goodbye in like really terrible situations. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that personally. I don't want people to say goodbye. I don't like goodbyes. And that's not to say like I want everybody to live forever. It's just, you know, I want people to have closure. I don't think it's fair to not have closure. I think that speaks to some things I need to unpack at some point in therapy in the future, doesn't it? But that's okay. We all carry those kinds of things with us all the time. Hopefully those of you who are younger and kind of rolling your eyes at me probably, hopefully you grow old enough and wise enough to see some wisdom in my words. You don't have to agree with my opinions. Just be aware that you're shaped by a lot of things. You're shaped by a lot of things you may not realize you're shaped by. But you're not a piece of clay. You are the sculptor of your own being. You can choose to be shaped however you want if you know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I'm always just shaped by what's going on, blindly. There's an irony there. I went to art school for sculpture and I don't know how to emotionally and intellectually resculpt myself into my ideal form. Although if we were doing just like appearance-wise, I think my ideal form would probably have antennae and compound eyes. So the fact that there are people getting in the way of me being able to achieve that kind of ticks me off. What a world we live in. We can't accept people augmenting their genders, but we can accept people augmenting their physicality in other ways. Although, if somebody were to get compound eyes or antenna, or heaven forbid, some sort of functional wing, if I had functional wings, even if it would get me shot down by the government, I'd fly. I'd fly high, man. I'm afraid of falling, I'm afraid of heights, and I would still fly in the air. And that's the kind of spirit I wanna bring to this channel in 2025. Let's fly. Even if it's a little scary. Even if it's really scary. I mean, I hope that you guys are enjoying this a little bit. I hope that you're picking up something that isn't just I'm a complete ding dong with no real life experience and no real opinions. This guy gets his moral compass from One Piece. We can disregard everything he says. And I mean, you're not wrong there. You're not entirely right, but you're not entirely wrong. Like, I'm not that good. I'm not a good person. That's what I would also say. Like, and that's not just the crappy opinions I had when I was younger. Also, like, I'm pretty cowardly. I probably will not stand up for people if it would hurt me. Probably. I don't know. I think it's situational. Sometimes you are in a situation where you take action, even if you take action without thinking. There you go. I don't know, like, it's not... I had a lot of friends who were bullied. I was also bullied as a young person. Sometimes, you know, you get in the way of people who are trying to hurt your friends. Sometimes you don't. It's not like there's any logic to it. It's just sometimes, you know, sometimes what somebody said had a point. And even though it's your friend, like, you know, they had a point. Sometimes, you know, people go too far and they need to stop. I don't know. I guess I wish I was braver. And I know I joke, like, if I had a wish, I'd want everyone's kneecaps to shatter or world peace. One of those two. But if we're being honest, I think, especially if I got a wish and it's not one you speak, if it's just one that's like from the very like deep reaches of your very being, you know, if it's your truest desire kind of thing, I think it would just be to be a better person or like a better friend. I feel like that's what... I'd be a little disappointed if that happened, though, because it's like I could have had anything, and all I got is the ability to just be a good friend. But at the same time, it's like, isn't that kind of all you'd really want? It's like, yeah. I'm realizing while talking about this that I place a lot of value on other people. Which is weird, because I live like a gosh darn hedonist. Oh, man. To be fair, I value people, but I also value stuff. Like, definitely, like, the worm of consumerism is definitely one that's crawled in my brain. And it's definitely one that goes against the grain of a lot of things I believe in. But I do like stuff. And you can easily manipulate me with stuff. And that's not good. I guess it's neat that I know it, but it's not good. I don't know. I guess the real question is, what kind of brainworms do you have? What kind of karma are you bearing? There we go. I have the worm of consumerism. I'm also a coward. Despite having values of empathy and pacifism, I'm also a reactionary who's willing to hurt people. And is definitely willing to I'm willing to burn bridges constantly, like in terms of arguments, just because I can. Like, let's I want to be really real. I'm not a level-headed person when I get emotionally charged. I'm always willing to burn bridges. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but what kind of people are you burning bridges around? And it's like, well, you know, it's usually just the ding-dongs, you know, if they get a little too loud and rowdy, it's fine to call them out. And sometimes it's not. You definitely have to use a personal judgment. I'm generally not afraid of people twice my age who are like, yeah, I was this or that, like, before you were born. It's like, I don't care. You've had decades to grow out of touch. You have decades left to grow back into touch. To, like, learn how to be a human being. Please do that. I don't know. But I don't think people are going to turn around and agree with me anytime soon. I know I'm not a very convincing arguer. I'm not that skilled in the art of rhetoric. I ramble. I stumble a lot when I talk. And I often forget what I'm talking about. Like, if I have a speech listed out, I'd probably do fine. But I don't really have much charisma either. I'm just kind of a guy talking. Just I don't know. I've never really seen myself as a guy who's like sincere. But that's just because like I know I'm a coward. And I get to see all the little cowardly ways I just appease people and deal with people with like kids gloves, I guess you could think of it. Because oftentimes it's not worth it to actually treat people with the level of attention that they need. And usually that attention is like you call them out for what they are. Which is funny. It's funny in the United States because you call someone what they are and they get really mad. And I know the refrain would be like, yeah, because you're calling them Nazis. And it's like, no, you can just call them like an old man, and that'll tick people off, you know. You can call people, you know, skinny or fat, and they'll get upset. And I think that's just like we don't have good self-image. We don't have good self-images. We don't teach how to have a healthy self-image, and that's a darn shame. You should love yourself. I should love me too, but you guys should love yourselves, you know? And I don't know how to teach how to have a good self-image. Like, I like me, but at the same time, it's like, man, if I could be somebody else, even if just for a day, that'd be neat. Because golly, it is really obnoxious being this guy all the time. All the time. I wonder if other people feel that way. Do you guys feel that way? Do you feel like it's tiresome or hard to be yourself? I don't know. Yeah, we kind of stumbled into some serious talking points. Which is funny because like the things I wanted to talk about were like manga I read and and the plant that was growing in the big bird. Do you know what I call the big bird? Because as a kid, like I didn't know to call him Big Bird. Like I called him Doo-Doo. So like poor Doo-Doo's been blinded. He's been stuck on a shelf. And then he's had a plant grow through his head. Poor Doo-Doo. Oh well. He'll continue to be around as long as I am. Maybe even longer. Can you imagine if I managed to do something important enough where some of my effects get put in a museum? Man, that'd be awesome. Put Doo-Doo in a time capsule and like launch him at the moon or something, or launch him into space so he can live forever amongst the stars. That'd be beautiful and tragic at the same time. At the same time, I think it would be the most fitting thing would just be to patch him up a bit and then give him to some other kid. Let him live and die doing what he was built to do. He was made to love kids. And not in a weird way, just in an emotionally supportive doll kind of way. I don't know. I don't really have anything. I know I have a list actually, but I'm too focused on placing these blocks to actually look at it. Trying to think. Oh, there was a manga. I got to read another volume of Miss Black. Wait, no, it's Precarious Woman Executive Miss Black General, and it's a really weird gag manga about a group of supervillains allegedly trying to be evil while also being like good people basically. So even though their goal is to take over the world, like they don't do anything to actually like hurt people or like advance their cause. Like, it's really weird. But it's, I don't know, like, Japanese gag manga humor is very distinct, I guess, is the word I would use. Like, once you've read a few of them, you start to, like, pick up the beats. But it's definitely very different from, like, American comedy. American cartoon comedy. And there's a lot of the same elements. Like, there's a lot of slapstick. But, I don't know, it's a very different series. But I enjoy it. I'm kind of wondering if it's going to have any more volumes, because the afterword was kind of like vague on whether or not the author knows where to go with the story. And that's always the worst thing, when an author has a good story, but they don't know how to continue it. Or maybe they continued it too long against their own will, or because it seemed like a good idea at the time, or because they added an element that's gonna make the story too long. I don't know. I hope it continues. I feel like there's so many elements, so many cool characters, and so many elements where, like, we could definitely continue this for a while. But yeah, I started reading it just because I wanted to read something from a villain's point of perspective. And I had no idea at the time that this would just end up being like a total farce. Well, that's fine. That's okay. I feel like the way I am now, I wouldn't enjoy reading something about a villain because I feel like it'd get too dark. I don't really want to read anything too stressful anymore. I'm an adult. I'm aware that I've only got so much time left on this earth. I just want good things. Good things only, please. That might be a little selfish. That might be a little conceited. But good things only, please. Can we get the big win-win without a huge old sacrifice? I hope so. And then what else? What else? I mean, One Piece had a new chapter, and that was cool. It did not continue the lore drop, so that's too bad. Maybe after the break. Maybe after the break week, we'll get some new information. We can hope. I doubt it. We're gonna get spoon-fed drip by drip. We're gonna have secrets up until the last chapter. It's gonna be another 10 years of reading One Piece, oh my goodness. But I will enjoy every chapter and every minute of it, so... Oh well, I've been reading it for over 20 years at this point. I'll be reading it for over however long it takes. I think that's kind of a good perspective, to have little things you want to do in the future. It's always good. It always keeps you kind of grounded. Just like how reading history will kind of fill you with the feeling that, man, things could always be so much worse. Because they can. It's kind of better than the feeling of being well-read in history and being like, oh, crap. Is that thing that's happening, is that thing that I read about happening here? And it's like, it can be. Certainly it can be. I don't know, you read enough stories and like, it's kind of grim. Like stories of volcano researchers realizing like the volcano they're researching is gonna explode. People who chase tornadoes realizing that the tornado they're chasing is going to change direction and just swallow them up. I don't know. I don't know why I read such grim stuff. It's just it's what was available when I was younger. And those stories stick in my craw. And maybe that's why I don't want to see people get hurt or destroyed, is just a knee-jerk reaction to, you know, you read enough terrible stories and it's like, I don't want to see any more. No more cruel outcomes, no more unfortunate endings. Let's just have everybody live good lives. It's naive, maybe even silly, but it's a lot nicer than the alternative, for sure. Okay, I can't read my list. It's too dark. Well, I know I talked about the paints, right? I returned the paints, and I talked about the plant. And, oh, I got my W-2 finally this week, so I can do my taxes whenever I want. That's cool. And then... I feel like I got something else in the mail, too. But I'm not remembering what it was, so I guess it wasn't that important. Weird. And then... yeah, not much happened this week. And I guess that's good. I do enjoy the weeks where not much is going on. I think we grabbed all the netherrack, right? This is it. Let's get these pieces all up in there. Do what we can. We do what we can, the best that we can, and await the results. Words to live by. Oh, and I read one of those alien forums again, and there's a interesting question posed, like, are there any smoking guns that make you believe in aliens? And people going through them, like, their favorite, you know, alien stories or UFO stories. But, like, one person was like, DNA. And I was like, that's an interesting thing. We'll go on. And then the person was like, yeah, it's just weird that they discovered that everything went extinct. Like, life was annihilated 200 million years ago. And I thought that seemed funny. But I kept reading. And, like, there wasn't enough time for complex life to, like, pick itself up after that extinction. And that's why I believe that all life that exists after that are, like, artificially created by aliens. And it's like, okay, that's an idea. Let me research that. So I looked it up. And, like, the 200 million, I don't know where they got the 200 million years ago kind of thing. Because that would have been, like, the Jurassic period. And we know complex life did... And, like, complex life is always going extinct. But we know, like, life wasn't annihilated. Because we have fossils of, like, not lizards, but reptiles and dinosaurs before and after. Like... We have a whole nother, like, 100 million years of... Or... Like, 150 million years of dinosaurs, dude. Like... What are you talking about? I don't know. So then I looked it up, and there is actually a recent extinction event that happened that we didn't know of before. But that one would have been like 550 million years ago. So not 200, not less than 200 million. 550. And this one happened before the Cambrian explosion. So that's really neat, because that could have been... It could very well be... what an event that kind of like kicked off the Cambrian explosion, you know? So that's interesting to me. And I wouldn't really have looked it up if some guy on a alien thread was not just making stuff up. And maybe he just misread. I know I'm kind of assuming here. But you know, it's easy to misread numbers. It's easy to hear stuff from other people too. I know back in the day, like word of mouth was a big thing. Like you only learned about stuff from other people. I get it. But nowadays we've all got Google on our phones. Like there's no reason not to ask for sources or to like look stuff up yourself. It's kind of embarrassing. Don't be that guy. But yeah, the end in Chiron event or something like that, I don't remember. But yeah, it happened like 550 million years ago. That's cool. It's nice to learn about stuff and prove some weirdo wrong. I don't know. I don't know if there's any smoking gun personally for me. Like I've read a lot of stories, but at the end of the day, like they kind of are just stories. And that's not to say that the people who have those stories are liars. But like, I don't know. The world's pretty weird. And as weird as it is, a lot of that weirdness is just there's so many moving pieces. There's so many moving pieces that things don't make sense when you're trying to make sense out of it. And we're logical I say we're logical creatures. We're not logical creatures, but we want to be. We believe things that happen for reasons and stuff, and it's like usually it doesn't. Oftentimes the only reason a thing happens is it happened, you know? That was good enough for it. Events don't need a reason to happen because they don't exist really. That's a really bad way of putting it. But, you know, it's like I can choose to brush my teeth or take a shower, and an event can't. I can choose to make an event happen, but like an event, there are tons of events that can just happen just because, you know, as a consequence of other actions, not as a direct action themselves, or a choice, not a direct choice. Kind of what I'm getting at. There are things that happen that nobody chooses to have happen. I don't know. I'm just always boggled by how complex the world we live in is. Because it really is. In some ways it's frustrating because it makes it really hard to fix things, and it makes it really hard to notice when things are going wrong or right. But at the same time, like there's a lot of value in that complexity. Or at least I want to believe there is. I don't know. Maybe there isn't. Maybe we should have a simple world. Maybe that's the fight we need to have. We need the world to be simpler. An easy world is an easy to understand world. What a slogan. I don't know. I don't want aliens to exist because they're kind of creepy the way the alien people and the UFO people talk about them. Like, man, I don't want those guys to exist. Aliens abducting people and probing people and stealing your eyes and organs and stuff. Well, we really just need your glands and your blood. Who knows why we need it, but we'll take it anyways. Calves are good too, you know. We'll dissect anything. That's freaky. Why? Well, it's basically the science class for our drones, you know. Our drones we direct telepathically. Gotta get some practice in before we just start dissecting ourselves. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the popular cultural gray alien, or just popular culture aliens in general. They're kind of freaky. Not in a fun or good way, in a really scary way. And maybe that's just like people are really good at making scary stories. Maybe that's just something bigger than us is happening right in front of our faces, right under our noses. Who knows? I do not have all the answers, and even though I am really critical of aliens and extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings, you know, I don't think we figured it all out, and I think there's definitely enough room for something to be out there. I don't think that means that anyone alive has any real understanding of what the universe really is, or what it could be, or what it will be, but you know, it's definitely big enough where it could be a lot of things that we can't even see, so. And I mean, it's big enough where we can't see it all anyway, so that's the universe. Who knows? Okay, as we make our way back, I'm gonna move my list so I can see it. Feel a little dark. Unfortunate. It's not nighttime. Come on, let me sleep. There we go. Wow, I kind of actually went down the list pretty well. Let's see, we talked about the aliens, we talked about the manga about Precarious Woman Miss Black General, we talked about One Piece, we talked about I returned my pants and got my W2. The plant, yep. And we kind of talked about AI. That's something I wanted to talk about a little bit. Cause I did wanna like make it a point that I'm not pro AI company. I'm not pro big tech companies. I am just pro the tools they may or may not. And it's not even pro the tools they create. I'm just pro the. I do genuinely like the idea of democratizing the creative endeavor. I do believe that the more people who can make things, that's good. At the same time, like, AI isn't really you making things, it's just you having access to something that's already kind of made for you. So I do think we do have to change our viewpoints on what is creation, maybe. I don't know. It's just there are some kind of unsettling developments in like how entities are viewing copyright, so I don't know, I wanted to make sure my stance is a little more nuanced and just like, oh yeah, I like AI. Like, I don't know. I think it's neat. If it goes away because of legal reasons, that's fine. And if creators lose all their creative rights because of AI and the companies that create AI have money to exploit, you know, the creative people, that's not okay at all. That's a big yikes. That's a big nope from me. But it definitely seems like, at least for the time being, the big tech's probably gonna win on this one, which is always that kind of sucks. But I guess we'll have to see what that means for the tech, I guess. And I did say I wanted to get lava. Come on, just... There we go. Why are you being so difficult? Okay. I don't know. It's a difficult thing. And like the dumb thing is, we're probably never going to crack like an intelligent AI. We're never gonna have a hard intelligent AI. We're just gonna have a bunch of these like generative models just making stuff, I guess. So it's like, what's even the point if we're not going to create a new entity, a new existence? Like, what's the point? And I know that's kind of a childish viewpoint of the point is we can do it, so we should. That's not always a good thing, but you know, it is what it is. Cool. And then where? Oh my. Oh boy. Let's see if we can't get some more. We're not gonna reach that one. I don't think we're gonna reach that one either. Are there any more of these that we can easily reach? That is the question. Dang. Okay, I know there's a few more puddles though. And are you accessible? Nope. Okay. Huh. Interesting. I'm not really aware of where... Oh, I know where I am. Okay, I just went kind of in a circle then, didn't I? Neato burritos, okay. Hey, friend. I almost thought you were a bee for a second. Oh, hey, this little guy. And I wasn't able to, Dang, I'm not close enough. Let me get close enough to the lava, please. Oh well, I did not plan this outing at all. So, I guess that's what happens when we don't plan. And I finally got back into reading questionable content. Or is it questionable content? I don't know. Whichever one it is. It was on hiatus in December. And kind of January, probably. And it's back now, and I got caught up on all the volumes. Or not volumes, on all the pages. So now I have to wait again for new content. It's always unfortunate. The cycle of webcomics. Getting caught up and then having to wait. Okay. Where are more... Where is more lava? Not you, not magma cubes. Where is more lava? I will happily slay you all. It was worth the experience. It was worth the experience, okay. Maybe it wasn't. But yeah, I'll happily accept your magma cubes or your magma cream, whatever. This time, because I'm not even trying to, I'm not trying to do something. There we go. Okay, so that's just, a little fire. That's okay. Now I got two of these guys. And we got several of these guys. Now I've got no more buckets, so I need to find where I came from. And get the heck out of here. There we go. Not the way. I think this is the way. I think this is the way. Oh hey, it made a second one. Huh. Fascinating. Weird. I wonder what would happen if we had both of those, if we had both of the portals open. That's an interesting question. Maybe it would have to choose which one it would send us through. That's very interesting. I didn't notice that. Where's our little divot over here? I think is a divot. There we go. And about like that. And we got one more. Nice. Works for me. And then, oh wow, we're high up. I didn't notice that. And we did get a lot of work done. We're still gonna have to probably fill up the chest one or two more times in order to fully knock this out. Man, there's still a lot of work left to do. Oh. Yikes. Why are we doing this again? Why did I decide to do this? Oh well, it's fine. I think we'll make a pickaxe and then maybe a pickaxe or two, and then we'll go back to the nether one more time, maybe. Get some lava. Acquire a little bit of netherrack. Not enough to make any real difference, but, you know, a little bit. And then we'll call it a day. Hopefully today's discussions weren't too infuriating or unnerving or boring. I don't know. I don't really have much going on, so I talk about what I can. I do feel like a good grounding method for talking about you know, the usual things that like tick people off is to kind of talk about it from the perspective of the people you're talking to, which is kind of impossible when you're on the internet. I don't know who's going to be watching this video. Like, I would hope it would be one of my subscribers, but you know, I'm also not in their headspace. I assume if you're watching a channel that primarily uploads Nintendo content, that you are interested in Nintendo content. So maybe political talk would go over your heads, or, you know, isn't what you want. You're trying to escape all that adult stuff. And that is understandable. Definitely. And if that's the case, then I do apologize for always bringing it up. At the same time, like, I don't know. I think it's a bad thing to be a little more with it, I guess. I'm hearing something hopping about. But I'm not seeing it, so oh well. Oh yeah. I did that wrong. Although I feel like there's still a chance to do this right. Alright, that's too far. Oh, I did this wrong, I did this wrong. Alright, that's on me. I did that wrong. Okay, we do have enough stone to do this right, I believe. Really, you're gonna make me do it like that the entire way through? Okay. And there we go. Okay. I hear a thing. Okay, get out of the lava. I want your experience. I don't want your experience to be destroyed. Okay, it is. Oh, tragic. And then let's grab that. Cool, cool. Slowly being able to, slowly being able to, grab this stuff up. Nice. Oh. Alright, and we only got one more. Good, 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 good. Very good. Let's see, where is another... Oh, there it is. I knew I heard one, so I knew there was one lurking somewhere. Boop. Alright, let's see if we can't acquire this guy. And there we go. Back to the fun and dark nether. Hooray. Still a lot of tunnels left to acquire the lava from. Okay. Still a lot of areas left to tap. Oop, that's on me. Dang. Oh yeah. Look at that. We can mine from these walls. That's awesome. leave it a jagged mess of whatever the other stone is, I guess. Fascinating. Are you coming after me, little guy? You tried your best. No one can say he didn't. But that's the end of their story. Come back in your next life, little slime cube or magma cube. Okay, and we are encountering more stuff. I wonder how long it's gonna take for us to break the pickaxe's mining. On one hand, I don't think it's gonna take too long, but at the same time, it's taking long enough. And look at that, we're being gang stalked. I know that's not really the actual term. I mean, it is. It's not the term that describes what the slime cubes are doing. But yeah, I don't know, like, the more you read on the internet, like, on one hand, the more you have to be like, yeah, you can't really trust anybody, because anybody can just say anything. But at the same time, like, there's enough weird stories where it's like, I don't know, sometimes you do have to trust people. So, I don't know, there's not a hard and fast rule, it's just, you know, go with your gut. If something seems like it's on the up and up, then, you know, maybe look into it. And if it doesn't, maybe look into it and try to disprove it or debunk it. And always be willing to learn something, I guess. You gotta keep an open mind. Like, I know I am really aggressively, like, anti a lot of the things I talk about, like, the Bigfoots and the aliens and stuff. But, like, I am very interested in, like, well, you know, what if there is a Bigfoot? Is it impossible? I don't think so. I don't think it's impossible. Does it make sense or is it reasonable? I don't know. But, is it completely unreasonable? I don't think so. Or at least not more than other things. Like, I think Bigfoot makes more sense than, you know, the idea that aliens or gods from another world have had a vested interest in humans since antiquity, and now they don't have any interest in us for whatever reason. Or who knows, maybe the aliens and the gods of old are different groups, and the gods of old were defeated by the current aliens, and or what we call aliens. And what we call aliens, for whatever reason, are being way more discreet than you would expect. I don't know. It's definitely a fairly it's interesting, but it's also, like, confusing. And I mean, maybe that confusion is the point. Where if nobody really knows who to blame or who to target, then you can get away with doing whatever you want. But at the same time, like, wouldn't it be more efficient, especially if you have, from our perspective, like, unlimited godlike power, wouldn't it make more sense to just, like, do things very directly? I don't know. That's something I think about. It's not a debunk, but it is definitely a critical point to pick. It's definitely kind of being a little critical. It's probably a good thing. I don't know. Maybe. leaving the nether. Okay, so we're gonna go to bed. We're going to see about getting rid of this lava and netherrack, and then we will probably return to our base and call it a day. We've been doing this for a while. And I could use a bath and a sip of water. Maybe even a whole glass if I'm lucky. That makes it sound like I don't know. What does that make it sound like? Like I'm some person who doesn't even deserve a full glass of water? I feel like everybody deserves a full glass of water. Who doesn't deserve a full glass of water? Other than like the 0.01% of the population that are allergic to water. I mean, they can have whatever fluids. I mean, I'm sure they can't have any fluids. Right? Like all fluids have water in them and thus all fluids would be harmful to them. I don't know. I think that'd be a really horrible thing to be though, allergic to water. Like people who are allergic to the sun, like that sucks. I feel like I read a case where there's a person who was allergic to themselves though. Like that would be the worst. Can you imagine just your entire body having an autoimmune response to yourself? Like emotionally, I get it, but intellectually, golly. Biology is scary. Well, that didn't fix what I wanted it to. Okay. Well, we got 5 buckets left, so cool. And we've also got a fair amount of... I should have kept part of one of the pickaxes, shouldn't I have? Dang. Oh well. You only realize what you have and once you've lost it, right? You only realize what you have to do when you're wrong. Okay. But hopefully all this talking about perspectives has given you guys a new one. And if it hasn't, and you just think I'm a ding-dong, then that's okay too. Next time, someday we'll read a book on philosophy and I will definitely mangle it as I yammer it to you. Don't worry. It may happen. Probably won't, but it may. You never know. You never know what I'll feel. You'll never know what I'll have the energy to do in a given week or a given month. Probably not enough. Definitely not enough. There's so many things I want to do. And yet time slips through my fingers. Like butter. Or a salamander. I don't think I've ever let a salamander slip through my fingers though. Usually they're pretty chill guys. And with their limbs and stuff, like, usually they stick in your hands pretty well. Although with all amphibians, you gotta be gentle with them, because, like, their bones aren't really gonna put up with much. And in the case of frogs, they don't even have ribs, so you really gotta be careful. If you get too rough with them, they pop, they rupture. And that is not a good thing for the frog. That kills the frog. And we don't want to kill frogs here. I like frogs. I think they're neat. Would I want them on my body or generally near me if I didn't know they were there? Probably not. But I feel that way about a lot of life forms, especially people. So we're gonna keep doing our best. We're a little anti-people, a little pro-people here. You never know. You never know which way those winds are gonna spin. On the Luppi Russ channel. We do our best. And hopefully we have more things to talk about next time too. That'd be good. That'd be really cool. If we have a different set of topics, I feel like we've been draining the well dry on my platitudes on various higher-minded topics of conversation. Or it'd be nice if I could talk about something a little more concrete and actually finish a thought before I trail off and get distracted. That'd be cool too, you know, if we could actually finish a thought. That'd be really sweet. That's entirely on me though. That's just not how I function, apparently. I'm a yammer and a stammerer, I guess. And maybe that's just I'm a little too harsh on myself, you know? I have this vision of who I am, and it's kind of been corrupted by what other people expect of me. I'm carrying those expectations, and I'm not being as kind to myself as I should. I think we all should be that mindful. Sometimes you just deserve a little kindness. A little consideration. You are the greatest ally you have, and, you know, for some people that's really tragic. And for other people, you know, I don't know. That's really cool, I guess. I feel like it's not that bad though. We'll make it through. We'll do our best. It can always be better. And we can make it so. I believe that. With our own two hands. And I used up all my whatever. Okay. Let's get a good view of what we did and then call it a day. Let's see, can I get up here? Looks like I can. It looks like I am going to be able to climb. Very easily. Very easy peasy. Very nice. And well, I mean, I was gonna say, it does not look that impressive, but actually, considering how much... Hey, you. Considering how much that was covered before, we actually... we actually did use up... We did use up the netherrack, so that's where it went. Making this mountain a horrible mountain range of netherrack. Wow. So we may have to clear out a few more trees that way. I feel like this way is fine, pretty much. Unless we want to really just spread out in the valley as well, in which case we'll have to get rid of all of that forest. I don't know. I don't know how far I want it to go. And then I don't remember... Like, we are probably going to expand it a little bit up here too, but... I don't know. Probably going to it's going to really depend on how much patience I have for this and whether or not I have something cooler I want to do. But yeah, we are still working on our stupid netherrack mountain. And still yammering and stammering about the usual stuff. I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully with a better array of things to talk about. I don't know. I read so many dumb little things that they kind of all just kind of fall out of my head by the end of the week. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.